Chapter 2. The Foundation of Faith. Before a person can think in the certain way that will heal their disease, they must first believe a few key truths which are here stated. All things are made from one living substance, a universal, intelligent energy that fills and penetrates everything in existence. This substance is everywhere. It moves through all space and forms the material of all visible things. Even though all forms are made from it, this substance still remains in and through those forms, alive and aware within everything it has created. Its life is in all, and its intelligence is in all. This substance creates by thought, and its method is by taking the form of that which it thinks about. The thought of a form held by this substance causes it to assume that form. The thought of a motion causes it to institute that motion. All forms come into being because this substance shifts and moves itself into certain attitudes or positions. When original substance wishes to create a given form, it thinks of the motions which will produce that form. When it wishes to create a world, it thinks of the great motions, perhaps extending across time, that will result in its coming into the attitude and form of the world, and those motions begin. If it wishes to create an oak tree, it thinks of the sequence of movements that will lead to the form of the oak, and those motions unfold. The particular sequences of motion by which differing forms should be produced were established in the beginning. They are changeless. Certain motions instituted in the formless substance will forever produce certain forms. The human body is made from this original substance, and is the result of certain motions which first existed as thoughts of original substance. The motions that produce, renew, and repair the human body are called functions, and these functions fall into two groups: voluntary and involuntary. The involuntary functions are under the control of the principle, the source of health in man, and are performed in a perfectly healthy manner so long as man thinks in a certain way. The voluntary functions of life include eating, drinking, breathing, and sleeping. These are partly or fully under your conscious control, and you can perform them in a perfectly healthy way, if you choose to. If you do not perform them in a healthy way, you cannot stay well for long. So we see that if man thinks in a certain way, and eats, drinks, breathes, and sleeps in a corresponding way, he will be well. The involuntary functions of the body are guided by the source of health, the principle of health, but they are also influenced by conscious thought, which affects the subconscious mind. As long as a person's thoughts are healthy and harmonious, these functions are carried out perfectly. Human beings are centers of thought, capable of creating original ideas. But because we do not yet know everything, we make mistakes, we think wrongly, and we believe things to be true that are not true. People hold in their thoughts the idea of diseased and abnormal functioning and conditions, and so perverts the action of the principle of health, causing diseased and abnormal functioning and conditions within their own bodies. In the original substance itself, there exists only thoughts of perfect movement, perfect function, and full, healthy life. God never thinks of disease or imperfection. But for countless ages, men have held thoughts of disease, abnormality, old age, and death, and the perverted functioning resulting from these thoughts has imprinted themselves into the collective subconscious of the human race, literally becoming a part of the inheritance of the race, in what we could term a race belief. Our ancestors have, for many generations, held imperfect ideas concerning human form and functioning, and we begin life with racial subconscious impressions of imperfection and disease. As Ralph Waldo Trine observed, this race belief has shortened even the natural span of human life. Though the human body was designed to live strong and vital for more than 100 years, countless people begin to age and weaken prematurely, simply because they expect to. Seeing others grow frail at a certain age, they assume the same must happen to them. In adopting that belief, they unconsciously help to create the very decline that they fear. Subtle and powerful are the influences of the mind in the building and rebuilding of the body. But this inheritance of false belief is not natural. It is not part of the original design of life. The true purpose of nature can only be the perfection and continual advancement of life itself. It is the nature of life to continually advance toward more perfect living. Advancement is the inevitable result of the very act of living. Whatever lives must live more abundantly. A seed sitting in storage has life, but it is not living. Place it in soil, and it immediately begins to draw from its surroundings to build a new form, a plant. It expands, multiplies, and eventually produces 30, 60, or 100 new seeds, each containing as much life as the original. Life, by living, increases. Life cannot live without increasing, and the fundamental impulse of life is to live. It is the very impulse that moves the original substance to create. In multiplying forms, he is moving on to live more. The universe is a great advancing life, and the purpose of nature is the advancement of life toward perfection, toward perfect functioning. The purpose of nature is perfect health. For humanity, the purpose of nature is that each person should continually advance into more life. Not more accumulation, not more things, but more growth, more evolution, progressing toward perfect expression, and living as fully and as richly as possible within their current world, their current sphere of action. This must be so, because the life that lives within each person is always seeking more life. Give a little child a pencil and paper, and they begin to draw natural, plain, and unrefined drawings. That which lives in them is trying to express itself in art. Give them building blocks, and they start to construct. That same life which lives inside them is seeking expression in architecture. Sit them at a piano, and they instinctively try to draw harmony from the keys. That which lives inside them is trying to express itself in music. That which lives in man is always seeking to live more. And since man lives most when he is well, the principle of nature in him can seek only health. The natural state of man is a state of perfect health, and everything in him and in nature leans toward health. Sickness has no place in the thought of the original substance, because its nature is continually impelled to move toward the fullest and most perfect expression of life, and therefore toward health. Humanity, as it exists in the thought of the formless substance, is perfectly healthy. Disease, meaning dis-ease, distorted or abnormal functioning, is nothing more than motion made imperfectly, or in a direction away from perfect life, and has no place in the thought of the thinking stuff. The Supreme Mind never thinks of disease. Disease was not created or ordained by God, or sent forth from Him. It is purely a product of separate consciousness, of the individual thought of man. God, the formless substance, does not see disease, think disease, know disease, or recognize disease. Disease is recognized only by the thought of man, of the individual mind that believes itself separate from its source. God thinks nothing but health. From all this, we see that health is a fact or truth in the original substance from which we are all formed, while disease is imperfect functioning, resulting from the imperfect thoughts of men, past and present. If humanity had always thought of itself as perfectly healthy, we could not possibly experience anything else. Humanity in perfect health is the thought of original substance, and humanity in imperfect health is the result of their own failure to think perfect health, and to perform the voluntary functions of life in a healthy way. Here then are the basic truths of the science of being well. Number 1. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made. It fills and permeates the universe, and it's the life within all things. Number 2. The thought of a form in this substance creates that form. The thought of motion creates that motion. For humanity, the thoughts of this substance are always of perfect functioning and perfect health. Number 3. Man is a thinking centre, capable of original thought. Because of this, we have power over our own functioning. By thinking imperfect thoughts, we have caused imperfect functioning, and by acting imperfectly in our voluntary functions, we have assisted in causing disease. Number 4. If we will think only thoughts of perfect health, we can cause within ourselves the functioning of perfect health. All the power of life will be exerted to assist us and support this thought. But this will not continue unless we also live, eat, drink, breathe and sleep in harmony with those thoughts. And number 5, the first step is to learn how to think perfect health, and the second step to learn how to eat, drink, breathe and sleep in a perfectly healthy way. Whoever takes these 2 steps will certainly become well and remain so.